Hey, my name is Mateus, I'm the guy behind Unabridged, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that this is not really the norm. Normally, I'm behind the camera making videos about a range of topics, but I've wanted to try this for a minute, where I'm just talking directly to you about topics that interest me. And today, I'm actually talking about one of my favorite musicians of all time, Jai Paul. This is not going to be a video about Jai Paul. There's a bunch of really good articles, video essays about him online if you want to find them. But if you're not familiar with him and you're watching this video, first of all, get to know. Second of, Jai Paul is a British musician of Indian descent who gained prominence in the early 2010s with a couple of really standout singles. His sound is notable for blending together electronic, pop, R&B, and experimental music. In 2013, his debut album was leaked. He took a massive step back from music, became a very enigmatic, sort of mysterious figure. I think he only ever did one interview. There weren't many pictures of him online at all, and he sort of stepped back for a long time. Behind the scenes, he was working with his brother AK on the Paul Institute label, but he himself in his music was completely missing in action, you know? Where is he? Then in 2019, he returned with 2 new singles, as well as finally officially releasing the leaked album from years before. Disappeared again. He reappeared super randomly in like a cameo in an episode of Atlanta.
Racism and capitalism, hard to separate, innit?
And then finally this year, he performed live. He appeared at Coachella, and then he did a few shows after that as well. Now it seems that he's back, but in sort of a Jai Paul way, you know, you never really know to what extent you're going to be hearing about him, seeing him. On a more personal level, Jai Paul's music has been completely life-changing for me. This video, I want to rank Jai Paul songs. I know there's a lot of very passionate, diehard Jai Paul fans out there. I hope my opinions don't annoy you. So S is perfect, it's perfection, wouldn't change a thing. A is slightly beneath that, but still amazing, incredible experience. B is really good. It's not quite on the level of the other two, but it's a really good, worth a listen kind of track. C is just good. And then D is mid. As with every Jai Paul discography chronologically, it starts with BTS to You. BTS to You was his first ever song, released in 2011, and there's a reason why it's still one of his most famous ones. It's like this perfect encapsulation of a lot of the things that make Jai Paul the artist that we love and want to hear from. It's got these beautiful vocal layers that work as a sort of continuous instrumental throughout the song. It's by far the most peaceful and ethereal use of the phrase "don't f**k with me" that you're ever gonna hear. When the beat drops, it's heavy, it's got these super distorted synths that come in, it's got a catchy chorus. It's a brilliant song. This is actually the one that was sampled by Drake in his track.
Dreams money can buy.
I almost said dreams worth more than money, which is a very different thing. I gotta put BTS to You in the S tier. So I know I'm meant to be doing this chronologically, but I'm just gonna get the demo out of the way. BTS to You, along with a few other Jai Paul songs, have both a demo and another version. You know, he releases a few different versions of songs. There's the edit, which is what I've just put in S. That was the original one released. But there's also the demo version. The demo version is super similar to the edit. It's just a little more raw. The beats are a little rough around the edges. On this case, I do slightly prefer the edit, but the demo is extremely similar. I'm going to put it also in S, just slightly behind the edit. Next up, we have Jasmine. This is the highly anticipated follow-up single to BTS to You, which Jai Paul released in 2012. This is a smoother track than BTS to You, I find. It's more moody and brooding, but also kind of sexy. It's like this little R&B cut with these big, heavy bass notes, as well as these stereo whooshing sounds, which make it kind of dreamy. I think Jasmine is a beautiful track. It's also going in S, okay? I promise not every song will be an S, but Jasmine is also an S for me. I do think I'm going to put Jasmine slightly beneath BTS to You. I think I just slightly prefer the unexpected nature of BTS to You. Now we're going to move on to the album. The first track, if you can call it a track, is one of the Brethrens. It's literally 10 seconds long. It's just a little intro audio clip. And for that reason, I'm going to put it in D for mid. So the first actual track on the album is Straight Out of Mumbai. Look, I'm just going to put it forward right now. This is my favorite Jai Paul song of all time. Not only that, it's one of my favorite songs by anyone of all time. This song's got a lot of interesting sounds that come in and out throughout. A lot of sampling. It's probably one of the best examples of how Jai Paul does sampling if you want to look at that. The synth riff is super memorable, as is the chorus, which is extremely catchy. My favorite part of the song is the breakdown. What you find in a lot of Jai Paul's music is that he's influenced by his Indian heritage, and he uses that in a lot of his sampling work. This song is a really good example of that. When the breakdown begins and you have the synths come in and this Indian vocal sample comes in, it's just incredible. And then the beat comes back. It's gonna go at the top, obviously in S, and it's gonna be at the front because it is my favorite Jaipal song. Zion Wolf theme is very different from Straight Out of Mumbai. There are similarities, obviously, including the fact that this one also has that influence from Jaipal's Indian background. Especially the beat patterns on this song, I think, demonstrate that. But this song is a lot more sorrowful. I actually think this is one of Jaipal's saddest songs. You'll notice that Zion Wolf theme, along with a lot of the songs on this project, say unfinished, and that's just because, again, they were leaked, so we never know what this song meant to sound like in its full, final form. But what we have in this version, I think, is still a brilliant, brilliant track. I think it is behind Straight Out of Mumbai, BTS2 and Jasmine, but it's still definitely S tier. I think it's a perfect, beautiful track, and that's where it's going. Next up, we have a bit of a weirder one, Garden of Paradise. This is a completely instrumental track, quite a short one as well. I don't find this pleasant to listen to at all. It's really repetitive, it's droning. It reminds me a bit of the song Gelmore from Bon Iver's I album. Bon Iver is my favorite musician of all time, but that song, Gelmore, I've never really managed to get into because of the instrument used. I find it so grating, and it's pretty much exactly the same problem I have with this track. I'm gonna put it in the D for mid. Next up, we have Genevieve, another unfinished track. This might be the most fast-paced and adrenaline-fueled Jaipal song there is. It's very happy, but in an almost insane way. The beat is groovy, there's that signature instrumental chopping. It's disconcerting. I love the sampling that comes in and out throughout the song, which is really bizarre and unexpected. Sorry to be boring. I am going to put it in the S tier. Where am I going to put it in the S tier though? I think I prefer the other tracks that are currently in the S tier more than Genevieve, but I still love Genevieve. It's definitely sort of the most feel-good track by Jaipal, I think. So I'm putting it there just behind Zion Wolf theme. Next up, we have Raw Beat. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this is another one of my least favorite Jaipal tracks. I don't think it's bad, it's just most of it is taken up by a spoken word sample. And then when the beat comes in, I don't think it's that remarkable. For that reason, I am gonna put it in the D tier as well. I think I might actually put it beneath one of the Brethrens just because I really like one of the Brethrens as an intro to Straight Out of Mumbai. And Raw Beat, I don't really like listening to in any sort of situation. Just not for me, so I'm putting it right at the bottom there in the D. Next up, we have Crush, which is a cover of a song by a different artist. I actually can't remember her name, but it will be on the screen here. I know I just said that Straight Out of Mumbai has like the heaviest beat out of any Jaipal song, but correction, this might have the heaviest beat out of any Jaipal song. Put some headphones in, definitely headphones. That bass is intense. This is probably one of the best covers, if not the best cover I've ever heard. Got these really cool syncopated drums and synths. I also really love the samples that come in and out, breaking up the beat, which is such a driving force in the song. This is also gonna go in the S tier. I feel like I'm extremely biased because I just love Jaipal. Right now it's weird because we only have songs in the S or the D. We need to find more middling songs. I'm putting Crush, actually. You're not gonna believe this. This might rub some people the wrong way. I'm actually gonna put it right beneath Straight Out of Mumbai, right above BTS2, which again might be controversial. Next up we have Good Time. Another really short song. This one though doesn't say unfinished, so maybe this is the intended final form of it. But yeah, it's really short. I do really like the sound of it when it is on. It's got this kind of retro disco feel that I like. It's upbeat, lively. It's obviously called Good Time, so that's kind of what you expect. It's just really, really short. Doesn't stay long enough to make a huge impact. The snippet we hear in the song, I really do think would work really well as a chorus of a bigger song, but unfortunately this is all we get. That being said, I still really do enjoy the sound of it when it is on, but I'm not going to put it in the S tier because it is so short. I'm going to put it sort of middle of the road, B. So next up we have 100,000, and I really do think here is the part where I'm going to annoy some people. What I like about 100,000 more than anything is that it's a full song. There's so many songs on this album which are interesting and cool, but they're really only concepts. They're too short to leave a mark or make you listen to them over and over, you know? 100,000 is a full song. It says still unfinished, but in terms of length and structure, it does sound like a complete form of a song. I gotta be honest, I'm not crazy about this song. I don't know exactly what it is. I think a big reason for that is the main synth of the song. It's this kind of descending melody that goes on and on and on and on, and by the end I'm like, whoa, okay, There are some positives, in my opinion, to this track. I really like the falsetto vocals on this one. I think Paul made the right decision going for that. I also really like the ending of the song. However, as I said, I do find this song a little bit annoying and repetitive. For that reason, I am going to put it in the C. You know, it's good, it's worth a listen. It isn't a song that I love, so I'm putting in C. I still like it. Thankfully, the next song on the album is amazing, in my opinion, and that's Vibin'. To me, this sounds like a cool part 2 to Jasmine. It's got that same hypnotic, trance-like R&B feel, super heavy bass. The beat really is the driving force. The beat and the bass really drive this song, so the vocals are washed out to death. It's all completely spaced out, dreamy. I really love everything about this song. I'm gonna put it right behind Crush and right ahead of BTS TU. In terms of songs like Good Time that are super unfinished, short, and almost like snippets of a song that will never get made, one that I think is probably among the best is Baby Beat. The sampling on this is so smooth. I really do think it fades out too quickly. Even if it repeated a couple more times, I would have liked to hear it. However, in that time, you still get to hear this super nice instrumental. I'm going to confidently put Baby Beat in the A row. I just wish it was a little longer. Desert River is a really interesting track. There's elements of Desert River which I love, and there's elements which I don't really like. I love the distorted bass that comes in during the song. I think it's super heavy and atmospheric. I think when the layered vocals are isolated, they sound really nice as well. Some funny sound effects as well throughout the song, which I like. With all of that being said, I do think this song has a couple of the same issues that I feel with 100,000. I just think the main backbone of the song, which are those synth stabs, that specific melody, it can get a little annoying after the full length of the track. The synths are very nasal and very loud. I think it's still a really interesting track, and there's a lot of elements in it that I do think work. I'm going to put it in B. Next up, we have a track that, much like Good Time, I really wish was longer. Chicks is a super smooth, dreamy beat. The beat pattern is almost like a boom bap style. The vocals, as usual, are smooth and spaced out. I just, again, feel like it's too short. I wish this track was longer, this beat was longer. I think it's ethereal. I think it's beautiful. I think it's transportive. I don't think I like it quite as much as Baby Beat, but I do like it more than Good Time. So I'm going to put Chicks in the A. Next up, we have All Night. This is like J-Pole's love-making track. It's real R&B for the bedroom kind of vibes. I like the wavy bass. I like the soft vocals. It's quite a repetitive track, but I think it works. I think that's kind of the vibe of this song. Probably one of the least harsh-sounding J-Pole instrumentals. I really like the ending, vocal layering, super beautiful. The thing is, right, the S tier is stacked. It's absolutely stacked right now, and it's going to be hard for anything to break into that. I just don't think I love it quite as much as any of the other tracks currently in the S. So I'm going to put it at the bottom, but still of the S. So those are all the songs from the leaked album. You also have Jasmine and BTS 2 on that album. Then you had the huge gap, years between J-Pole not making music, before he came back with 2 new singles in 2019. Now, to me, personal opinion, there is one that I like a lot more than the other. Okay, so let's start with Do You Love Her Now? There's some stuff that I really like about this track. It's slow and smooth, and there's these female vocals that come in a few times during the track that, to me, they sound like Mariah Carey. It's one of J-Pole's most like retro sounding tracks. You know, instead of something that sounds futuristic and breaking down walls, it does sound a little bit like a callback to times before. I just feel like, and this is a really funny thing to say about a J-Pole song because it's so often the opposite case with a lot of his tracks, but I do feel like this track could be a tiny bit shorter. I think it does drag towards the end. It's a very repetitive song. I also, and this is the case for this and the other single from 2019, because these songs he released intentionally by himself, they obviously sound a lot more complete, fleshed out, properly mixed and mastered than some of his previous songs that were leaked, which in some ways is great. Obviously, he's releasing what he wants to release at the time that he wants to release it. But it does remove a little bit of that weirdness and that excitement of hearing something so unorthodox, as was the case with some of the songs on the leaked album. I do still really enjoy Do You Love Her Now? And I also find it really funny that the beginning of the song, the bass, kind of sounds like Jaws. Even though the majority of the song is like super smooth and slow and going again down that R&B retro groove, the beginning of the track sounds kind of like menacing and creepy. But I don't love Do You Love Her Now? But I do really like it. I definitely prefer it to 100,000. I think I'm going to put it in the B, above Good Time. To me, it is definitely the weaker of those 2 tracks. I definitely prefer He. Since the first time I heard the 2 singles, He was the one that stood out to me. The build up on this song is so dramatic, so atmospheric. It's almost like cinematic. The falsettos that lead the song, the great, love them, get stuck in my head. I like that he works both his lower vocal register and his higher register into the song. And when the beat comes in, it reminds you of all the reasons you became a Jai Paul fan in the first place. It's heavy, it's unique, it's kind of messy. I think if I had any critique of He was just that I always felt like there could have been a tiny bit more. The build-up is so intense and so exciting. It does make you hope for a pretty dramatic drop. The drop is still really good, but I do feel like a little bit more could have happened. It's definitely my favorite of those two singles, and it is among my favorite Jai Paul songs of all time. I think I'm going to put it in the S, right behind Jasmine and right above Zion Wolf Theme. Next up, we have what I think is Jai Paul's only ever official feature, and that is in Big Boy's song Higher Res. This track is not only featuring Jai Paul, but also produced by Jai Paul. It's got such a strange, unorthodox beat. It's completely manic, yet also joyous. I also really like the little dragon feature at the end of the track. I think for me, the highlight of this song is everything to do with Jai Paul. I think the beat is brilliant. I think Jai Paul's performance in the track is really memorable. The chorus is extremely catchy. This is a track that I don't think I hear enough people talking about. Big Boy is an incredible rapper, and I think he does as well on the beat as he could have. But since it is such an insane beat, I think it does sound like he's struggling to keep up at times. Nevertheless, I don't think this detracts from how good this song is. Such an adrenaline high. I don't think it's quite as impressive as Jai Paul's solo stuff that I have in the S tier, but I think it's almost there. I'm gonna put it in the A tier, right at the top, above Baby Beat. I think this video is dragging on a little bit. I'm speaking a lot. I just want to talk about Jai Paul, man. Sue me.
Call the judge and get some fudge.
But I did want to quickly go through a lot of his unreleased or not officially released tracks and see where they rank on my list. First of these is Ron's Beat. This is a very short and silly instrumental based on Harry Potter. It's funny, it's lighthearted, it's endearing, but it's just not super enjoyable to listen to because it is so short and pretty comical. Comical to the point where I don't love listening to it personally. And I love Harry Potter, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. But I just don't want to listen to a 30-second song which samples Ron's voice. But you know, I don't have anything against it, it's just not something I love. I am going to put it at the bottom of my ranking because I never go back to Ron's Beat, unfortunately. Next up, there is 100k hits on MySpace, Thank You. That's the actual name of the song. I think this is just a song in which Paul wanted to show gratitude to the people who followed him on MySpace at the time. MySpace was the platform in which he shared a lot of his music in the early stages of his career. This song essentially is just 100,000, but in a shorter, condensed version, which for me personally, as someone who doesn't love 100,000, isn't such a bad thing. I actually find this version less annoying because it has less time to get annoying, and at the end it says thank you, which is sweet, it's nice. It's gonna annoy people, but I am gonna put this version of the song just ahead of the final album version of the song. And I'm also gonna do the same thing with the version of 100,000 from the Everlasting mixtape. This is pretty similar to the MySpace version, but it does have a little Harry Potter Ron's Beat-esque intro, which again, some people might love, but it's just not something I love listening to. Next up, I got Super Salamander here. This is probably the most recent Jai Paul release. It was definitely released after the two singles in 2019. And I like a lot about this track. Beat is cool, moody and dark, but it still has a little bit of the comical goofiness, is the best way I can put it, from Ron's Beat. It samples different TV shows. To me, this song sounds like a supervillain's theme song, you know? It's like the entrance music of a supervillain, so it sounds very over the top. I don't love it, but I definitely like it. I think there's a lot of cool ideas in the instrumental. I'm going to put it just above Desert River in the B tier. Next up, we have the All Night beat. I love All Night, and this is essentially just the instrumental version of that song. With the vocals stripped back, you do get that highlighted bass. It's such a cool bass line. And there is a nice little voicemail sample at the beginning, which, you know, it reminds me of Marvin's Room by Drake, which for many people is the go-to mental point when you think of a voicemail in music. However, this is really short, and I do still prefer the full version of the track because I also think Jai Paul's vocals on that track work really well with the instrumental. I'm going to put it just above Chicks in the A tier. Next up, we have Bait Beat. This is another cool short beat. It's got this nice orchestral sound. It's also got these like moaning samples, which I think are pretty disconcerting, but work well with the sort of general interest of the track. I think probably the main flaw with this song is that it's not the most memorable of Jaipol's songs. For an artist that has so many songs that are instantly recognizable, this is definitely not among the most. But it's not bad at all. I still enjoy it. I think I'm gonna put Bait Beat also in the C above the whole 100,000 row, you know? Then we got some different versions of pre-existing songs. We have the BTSTU AK Pole edit. So this is a version by Jai's brother AK. It's a lot more repetitive with a focus on this groovy bass, but it doesn't do as much for me. There's obviously less of that traditional song structure as well, so it does feel like a snippet. And I just think the original had more interesting elements overall. I do think this is still a cool reworking of the track, but the original is more enjoyable for me. I'm gonna put the AK Pole version of BTSTU right at the bottom of A, below Chicks. The Halloween edit of BTSTU, however, I think is really interesting. It's still, you know, not as long and fleshed out as the original track, but it's a really cool reworking. It's got these wind and whispering samples. It's got this creepy laugh track as well. I think it's a really cool take on the track, brings it into a different emotion that wasn't there originally. For me, I'm happy to put the BTSTU Halloween edit right above Baby Beat for now. Next up we have Genevieve clip version. There's a few different names for this, I think, online, but it's essentially the same track, shortened down, as is the case with a lot of these other ones that I'm speaking about, as Genevieve, but it's got this cool vocal sample intro, which I think is a nice, interesting addition to the track. The instrumental's a bit rougher than the final version, but I also think that's quite an interesting thing to listen to. I'm gonna put the Genevieve clip right beneath Baby Beat. The vocal sample on Feist Beats is beautiful. I think it is a sample of Feist, which would make sense with the title. But yeah, it's just lovely. There's these twinkling keys throughout the song, which are really nice. The beat is cool, the bass is heavy, both sort of signature moves for Jaipol. I'm gonna put Feist Beats right above Chicks, actually. Next up we have Flip Out. I'm just gonna say Flip Out is amazing. Flip Out is a really good track. The synth melodies in this song are kind of similar to Zion Wolf Theme, which obviously is a great track in itself. The beat is unhinged. The ending of the song is amazing. I'm happy to put Flip Out actually really high. I'm gonna put it right behind Higher Res. Finally, we have Jungle Drum Beat, also from this Everlasting mixtape, as it's so called on the internet. Take everything I said about Flip Out and make it even better. This is, again, one of my favorite Jaipol tracks, but even more so than Flip Out. I love everything about this song. It's a reworking, it's a cover of a pre-existing song, and much like Crush, it's a lot better than the original song. The chords are beautiful, the beat is feel good and it's animated and it's lively, and the sampling, as usual, is great. It's so good, so worth a listen, and I'm gonna put it straight in the S tier. I am gonna put it at the bottom of the S tier just because all the songs on there at the moment are so strong, but it's still perfect in my opinion. I always come back to it, and you should listen to it as well if you haven't. So that's it. Those are all the songs I'm ranking by Jaipol in this video.
I accidentally forgot to include I Care by Fabiana Palladino featuring Jaipol on this ranking. Released in 2023, it is a nice, slow-paced song with retro-sounding synths and good vocal performances from both artists. It is quite repetitive though. I'm going to put it in the B tier for now, right above Good Time.
I know that he might have more out there. I'm not the biggest expert on the missing song files and versions, but these are the ones that I found and I listened to. All of them worth a listen. You should definitely check them out. Jaipol is an amazing musician. A lot of you are going to disagree with my rankings, obviously, so put down in the comments what you agree with, what you don't agree with. If you have any song recommendations by artists similar to Jaipol, or some Jaipol songs that I might have missed from this list, feel free to send them my way. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be doing more videos like this, I think, where I'm talking directly to a camera. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Aside from that, I just want to thank you again for all the support on the previous videos. Follow me on my socials. Go listen to my music if you're interested. It's out there. Mateus de Sa. Thanks so much again for all the support. That's it. Bye.